Young Sheldon is trying too hard to justify George's cheating scandal. Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and give this video a like. Up despite George Cooper Sr.'s unfavorable portrayal on The Big Bang Theory, young Sheldon presents him as a likable and misunderstood figure, which helps to explain his choice to cheat on Mary. According to the program, George's infidelity resulted from his family's abuse and lack of admiration for him, which drove him to look for happiness elsewhere. The moral ramifications of George's conduct are further complicated when young Sheldon tries to justify his choice to lie about his affair by demonstrating his conviction that he is saving his wife from suffering. In the TV show, young Sheldon on CBS is attempting to defend George Cooper Sr.'s, Lance Barber, infidelity with Mary, but why did Sheldon's father cheat in the first place? Sheldon as an adult, Jim Parsons, while on The Big Bang Theory, his mother constantly made fun of and chastised his father. George was frequently characterized as a bad father who was careless and indolent. Sheldon even disclosed that he had discovered George having an affair behind his mother's back, which only made the situation worse. Will Sheldon's parents separate? They obviously do, but young Sheldon is making it difficult for others to criticize George. He told Penny, Hailey Bieber, about how he broke into his parents' room and discovered his father having an affair when he made the TBBT disclosure. George passed away from a heart attack a year later. The season 4 finale of Young Sheldon established laying the foundation for this when George was approached by Brenda Sparks, Melissa Peterman, his recently single neighbor. Before anything could happen, George was hurried to the hospital after experiencing an emergency health scare. The two have kept in touch ever since, and it's obvious that they are attracted to one another, which may have contributed to George's cheating scandal with young Sheldon. The Cooper patriarch was shown as a wonderful father who makes a concerted effort to pleasure his children in Stuffed Animals and a Sweet Southern Syzygy, the 5th episode of Young Sheldon Season 5. However, following his unintentional intervention in Missy Cooper's, Reagan Revered, romantic life went wrong, she brutally reprimanded her father, accusing him of causing her embarrassment. George left, defeated, rather than defending himself and refusing to let her treat him disrespectfully. The scene conveys the idea that the kids' lack of admiration for their father played a role in his choice to deceive. The narration by adult Sheldon recognized this. George's touching chat with Billy Sparks after Missy dumped him later served to highlight this point even further. The Cooper grandfather stopped by to see how Brenda's son was doing. Brenda regarded George with staring eyes, but Billy, unlike his own daughter, was truly open to George's guidance on how to handle heartbreaks. Young Sheldon observes George being treated disrespectfully or neglected entirely at home, therefore it stands to reason that Sheldon's father's ultimate infidelity was his means of finding happiness and approval elsewhere. It makes an effort to defend his choice to cheat by pointing out that, in spite of everything he does, his family treats him badly. In Season 6 of Young Sheldon, nothing improved. It also attempted to provide further explanations for the "why did Sheldon's dad cheat?" question. The romance appears to be taking place behind the scenes, but it may have already begun. After the young guy walked in on his father, Sheldon and George continued to be together, even though they never discussed his infidelity. In one instance, George told his kid that lying to others is acceptable in certain situations if doing so spares the sentiments of others. It illustrates how he may justify keeping his infidelity a secret from his wife by believing that doing so will spare her suffering. If George is persuading himself that he is acting morally while cheating on his wife, that nearly makes what he did worse. George kept emphasizing in Season 6 that he feels stuck in his marital and family life and is unhappy with his life. To make matters worse, George ended himself spending less time with his wife, seeing more reasons to think he deserves better than what he has, and witnessing his marriage shattered even more from Mary. Additionally, Season 6 added a twist to the George cheating scandal. Mary told Brenda that she believed she was having an affair with George on young Sheldon. The two reconciled, though, as Brenda was quite insistent that she was not playing around with Mary's husband. The timetable indicates that Sheldon will soon see his father, and assuming he is not having an affair with Brenda. This implies that there may be another woman involved, but nobody is aware of her. Young Sheldon still has a lot of work to do to make him appear as awful as Sheldon does in The Big Bang Theory, even though George feels he deserves better. The Big Bang Theory and young Sheldon are not renowned for taking a progressive stance toward their female characters. The Big Bang Theory discusses George's cheating issue and young Sheldon in a very different manner. However, especially in the early seasons, TBBT has been accused as being overtly misogynistic by many. When it comes to George cheating on Mary, young Sheldon appears to be making the same faults as its parent series. In TBBT, Howard Wolowitz, Simon Helberg, is the most egregious offenders. When he becomes a father, he has a fulfilling character arc and gradually loses much of his twisted attitude. The male gaze was initially personified by Howard. As a kind of scapegoat, the nerd archetype was employed by the Big Bang Theory to further its sexist inclinations. Whenever Leonard and the group were misogynistic, it was justified as such because they didn't know any better. The show's female characters accept everything the boys give them, so they are partially complicit in their devaluation. When Bernadette, Melissa Rauch, began retaliating against Howard in subsequent seasons. But the majority of characters didn't seem to be able to develop. It's not surprising that the misogyny would translate into George being the victim of his affair, given that young Sheldon is set in the same dysfunctional universe. Even though George's infidelity, as exposed in The Big Bang Theory, is still wrong, George gains sympathy after Missy yells at him and he displays his dejection following her excessive emotional outburst. It's clear that young Sheldon's portrayal of George and The Big Bang Theory are at odds. The very disparate incarnations of the character will eventually need to be reconciled by CBS. Sheldon's own experiences have influenced his recollections of his father, and the spin-off series makes a concerted effort to present a more complete picture of George Cooper's adultery. In contrast to Sheldon's experiences in The Big Bang Theory, Billy Sparks is portrayed in young Sheldon as a mild-mannered character who is frequently exploited. Wyatt McClure and Ian Armitage's possible reunion may be impacted by the possible postponement of young Sheldon Season 7, as suggested by Armitage's remark on an old picture. Whether young Sheldon would finally validate Sheldon's stories about Billy Sparks from The Big Bang Theory or explain why he lied is still up in the air, especially if Season 7 is the final season of the show. In a behind-the-scenes birthday photo, actor Wyatt McClure shows how much Sheldon and Billy Sparks have matured in young Sheldon. Despite not being a Cooper family member, Billy was already well known because of Sheldon's early stories in The Big Bang Theory. People were eager to find out more about him and his relationship with the socially awkward genius when they first started reading young Sheldon. In honor of Ian Armitage's birthday, McClure shares a vintage picture of the two of them to arouse nostalgia after 6 seasons of young Sheldon. Take a look at the cute picture below. The shot is obviously from a few years ago, but McClure doesn't specify when it was taken. Apparently alluding to the possible postponement of young Sheldon Season 7, Armitage replies in the comment area, thanking his co-star and expressing his hope that they will soon be reunited. On The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon frequently related stories about his early years spent in Texas. He would talk about Billy and other members of their community, but his stories were primarily about him and his family. Like in young Sheldon, he had been Sheldon's longtime neighbor and the son of Brenda Sparks. But the prequel has continuously contradicted the boy genius's memory of Billy. Young Sheldon presents a mild-mannered, yet dense, portrayal of Billy, in contrast to Sheldon's assertions that Billy was one of his worst bullies in Texas. Due to his tendency to keep to himself, he has been largely innocuous. In young Sheldon Season 6, Missy's friend tried to pull a practical joke on Billy, who has been a good kid who is frequently taken advantage of. Since the Cooper child moved to East Texas Tech for college, Sheldon and Sheldon seldom ever interact. It's interesting to wonder if young Sheldon intends to finally prove that he was telling the truth regarding Billy and proving The Big Bang Theory Sheldon. Given a number of more significant storyline threads that the program must address, it seems unlikely that it will return to the story if Season 7 is its final one. However, if that's the case, it would be nice if it included a line that explained why Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory lied about Billy. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube Young Sheldon 24 channel, and stay with us.